So give me 1 second.
How's everybody doing? What's going on? If you're here, say hi. Just kind of coming on to chat, talk about the energy. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop questions, but just figured it was time to come on. Thank you so
I'll
much
say,
for the roses. Thank you. Hi, loves.
and I'm cool with like personal questions too. So I don't know if you're open to that idea or not, but helping people with personal questions
Yeah,
might be what
sure.
assists people the
Hi,
most.
Anne. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Cassio. Hi, spiritual warrior Kyla. Oh, hi, Kyla.
How's it
Gregor.
going?
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. And if we don't necessarily see them, because sometimes they get missed when one person is kind of answering, feel free to just drop your questions and we'll kind of go through them. Hi. Hi,
You're getting a lot of
everyone.
highs from my side too.
Hi,
You're getting highs on my
everybody.
side.
Hi.
Hi, Becky. Or Becky. Batty Caker. I'm sure it's like Katie Baker. I'm sure.
Hi, you have a question on my side.
Yeah. Shoot.
Did you choose Malik's name or did he tell you?
He told me. Great question.
I
Yeah,
had
he
a
definitely
feeling.
told me. Yeah, because I was trying to figure out a name and it just kept hearing Malik and I had no idea what that meant. And I looked it up and it means king, apparently.
Oh, I
But
love
yeah,
that.
he
Very
told me
Malik.
straight up Malik. Yeah, he's like I'm Malik. I'm like, is it Malik or is it Meow Lick? What is that? What is that? Meow?
Are you
Yeah,
sure?
Malik. That's a random like I just thought it was light language at first. I was like, oh, that makes sense, Malik. Like but he's definitely Malik. He's definitely King Kitty.
How's
Okay, so
everybody
hi, how do
doing?
you move? So I got a question from Kate the Brave. Hi, how do you move from receiving light language through your hands to transmuting vocally? That sounds like a question for you, honestly. Like that's
Honestly,
transmuting's your thing.
I would say it is a matter of setting the intention. I always say everything to do with soul language, light language, connecting with your gifts in general. It's a matter of intention, patience, practice, and allowance. So what I'm hearing for you is consciously taking that time. If you're a meditating person, great in meditation. If you're not, still consciously taking that time alone, asking to push out any and all energies, pushing out any cords of attachment, anything like that. And I do this several times a day. I will over and over again say any and all guides that are not here for my greatest and highest good right now, leave. Because sometimes they linger in our space, right? So pushing everything out and setting the intention, I would like to start using my light language, my soul language vocally. And you'll know when it's ready to come out. This is how I know. So if somebody comes to me and says, do you think I'm ready? Everyone can be ready. There's just a clearing process for each person, right? But the heart and mind kind of have to want to do it. So you'll start noticing like a bubbling feeling in your throat. So if Ty came to me and said, "Do you think I'm ready for light language?" I would tune into his body and I would feel a bubble in his throat, and that's how I would know. And now my voice is getting scratchy, so I feel like you're already calibrating. So I hope that helps. Just be in a place of allowance and allow yourself to feel silly and allow the sounds to come out. Also, like toning, so harmonizing, and allowing singing and vocals to come out, that really helps to tune things in.
Beautiful. Yeah, I would just add on that too. Like I started with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I started. I started with mudras. I would use plant medicine, and I would be doing it all the time. I was doing different energy healing techniques, and as I would put my hands over, because I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, I was just like I had no idea. So I was just going off of intuition, and I would feel into the energy because I'm a feeler. So I'm very clairsentient in the way that I feel the energies, and I would feel them, and I would notice as I feel them, the deeper that I felt them, the more my hands would move, and they would start to move into
Right.
different, naturally into different ways. And then from there, I it kind of like bursted in through the vocalizations because that's when
Yeah.
it like gets really intense. And my story about finally using the vocalizations is a little bit different, but they do try to come in at the same time a lot of times. So for me, yeah, it's like what Tina's saying is it's about flow. It's just about playing with it, honestly. Because if
Mm,
you're already expressing it through your movement, it's already there within you. It's
right,
just about like it's there's a lot of like programs that come with the idea of speaking light language
right.
in like society and culture, because it's like such a weird thing to do, like, and it bypasses that logical side of the brain. So it's like and we're in such a society where everything has to be put in a box, everything has to have a direct translation, everything has to have, like some kind of like rigidity to it. And light language is like the complete opposite of that. So there's a lot of programs that you got to bypass for yourself in order to yourself allow yourself. It's an allowance thing. Allow yourself to be who you are,
Yeah,
because it's a part of who you are. It's not something that you do. It's part of who you
right.
are.
And making sure
Great
that that
question.
allowance is truly an open an allowance, right? And being in alignment with your heart. So that's another thing, is that this is all really meant to bypass the logical brain. So the more that you think, I should be vocalizing, I need to vocalize, it doesn't sound right, I need to do this, I need to do that, the longer it might take for it to come in. So I was the opposite. I just started spouting off at the mouth one day and then allowed it to happen, and it just continued and the dialects kept building. But I wasn't working with my hands. And then it just kind of went from one day, like just speaking, to all of a sudden doing all of this crazy stuff. And I don't think about it. It just comes in. It just comes in. So I have a couple questions over here, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Midnight Sun Goddess, hi love. How do I find other spiritual creators to collab with? More and more gifts are coming online for me. Honestly, I would say go where you're drawn. Go where you're drawn. Um, like search around TikTok. Allow yourself to go to the people you're drawn to. Joining Ty's got a Discord if you want to join the Discord for connection. Um, Looking around on Facebook, just checking out the social media that you're on and looking for the people that you're drawn to. Start duetting people, send people messages, reach out. Feel free to reach out. If you're drawn to someone's energy and you want to start working with them, ask. What's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah.
So allow yourself to ask.
Yeah. That's it. That's perfect. Like, you'd be surprised how available a lot of energies are. Like, a lot of like people are like our community, we're really honestly all trying to go towards the same direction. So
Yeah.
you might be surprised, the more you interact with somebody, your energies are going to be connected no matter what. If you're drawn to somebody, there's a reason why you're going to be drawn to them. So like, don't try to get up too much in the mind game. Like, just follow, interact with their content. Hit them up, because
Yeah.
like that's there's going to be a reason why you do it regardless. And
Right.
who knows what can come from that. Yeah. So but yeah, definitely being in groups, being in communities, interacting with others. Don't be shy or hesitant to hit people up, whether they respond to you or not, because we all got our things going on. The energy is going to be there. The intent, that the physical action of
Right.
doing that thing is going to help magnetize and say, hey, universe, I want to interact with more people that are like this. This is what I want to be drawn to, and I'm taking physical action to make that happen. And then that'll start to be reflected back to you.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any questions on your side? Because I have some more, but I want to make sure that we're paying
Yeah.
attention to
So
both
there's
sides.
one that we were waiting for that says, how long were you speaking light language before you started to understand it?
For me, honestly, it sort of came on right away. So my experience is a little bit different. I had just come into like the spiritual community. I was like fresh as a daisy. I mean, I had always been aware of my gifts, but I had never been in these communities, nothing. Like, didn't know anybody. And I sort of fell into like spiritual Facebook. I don't know how. I mean, I know that I planned it out, right? But I don't know how I got there at that time. So I sort of fell into spiritual Facebook, and I started seeing people doing readings and healing. And I started noticing people using light language. They were calling it light language. And um, I remember feeling like, wow, that's weird, but like not a single part of me was ever against it, right? Like I had no resistance. I was like, that's neat, like whatever. I just felt really drawn to it. And then one night, I went to bed, and before I went to bed, I started speaking a phrase, and for me, it translated. And the thing with the translation, right, is that it's going to be in your understanding.
Hmm.
So it translated in my understanding. I started speaking and I said, "This is Pleiadian. This is what I'm saying." And then the next morning I woke up and I started working through another dialect. And then from there on out, it just kind of continued to build, but I was always in a place of allowance. I had no resistance. I didn't know what I was doing, right? But I just continued to allow myself to do it. I sounded silly all the time, but I've always been kind of silly anyway, so I don't care. And I just spoke it to the bugs, the trees, the lizards, anything. But I would say with that, once again, it's practice, patience, and allowance. And if you're wanting to figure out what it is that you're saying, the best piece of advice that I can give you is to record yourself, whether it be a voice clip or just like a recording of yourself on your phone. And then go back to that. I suggest tuning into that, not focusing on what your face looks like or anything like that. If it helps, close your eyes, set the intention. I want to feel into this. What is it that I'm saying? What is the message? What is it that I'm projecting here or putting out into the world? Feel into it again and see if you notice anything. If you feel something on your body, if you feel expansion in your heart, if you hear something, if something just pops in, pay attention to it in that way. But I think that's the best way to practice is record yourself and just go back.
I can agree with that. Like, the biggest advancements for me came when I started to actually record what I was doing, because then I could see it myself and I could pick up you pick up your patterns, like what you're doing, because only you know what you're experiencing in through your own lens, right? So
Right.
when you're experiencing it, it's a completely different thing. But when you're witnessing it outside of yourself while you're experiencing it, you can kind of like start to make more connections. So I would highly recommend that. I started to For me, it's like the opposite of Tina in a lot of ways. I'm kind of the like I don't get like the direct information. I get the vibration of it. Then it goes through, of course, like she says, through my own filters, and then I run it through my own clairs, which my clairs are mostly like knowing and feeling. So if those line up, then I know that it's accurate. But it's just different for it's each person is going to experience it so differently, because it's higher self integration. That's what's really going on, and everybody's higher self works very well. I mean, pretty different. It's such a huge
Right.
spectrum. That's what's so special in who you are. So the way that you interface with reality may be dramatically different than other people's. That's a really important part to remember too. So even if we're talking about it from our own experience and our own perspective, really just focus on how you experience it, like how you interpret it. What helps me as far as like starting to get an idea of how what's going on and how things work is, like she says, record it, of course, but also other exercises like if you're trying to understand what you're saying, start to speak it in your insides what you want to say. Like, try to come up with like emotional messages, something that
Yeah.
has a lot of
Setting an
energy to it.
intention and then opening your mouth
Mm-hmm.
and allowing it out even.
Yep, and just let it flow, and then observe it, and then see what the differences are, because that's the idea, right? Because when you'll start to notice like certain words or certain expressions or certain energies will come through at different times based on what you're expressing. So, like for example, if I'm doing an activation, it's different. There's usually different dialects and different expressions of movement that I do if it's an activation versus like a
Right.
healing or a
Right.
healing or an upgrade. Like there's it's subtle, but there are differences. So that's what I would recommend as
Yeah.
well.
And what's important to remember as well is like, now I know I haven't been on TikTok doing this too much, but this was primarily what I was doing on Facebook was like activations, upgrades, things like that, using soul language, light language for that. But especially as you're watching Ty's lives, I will say, um, when he is doing what he's doing, when he's doing activations and upgrades, think of it as a computer getting rebooted, getting upgraded. Okay. So when he's doing things like that, it's not going to be as easily it's not going to be as easily translated. Sorry, the word just went bloop, because it's not necessarily a message, it's an upgrade. So it's going to be a lot of repetitive things. Like if you look at computer programming, coding, the way that it looks, that's kind of what the speaking is
Zero
like.
zero zero one 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 zero zero zero
Right,
one 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 one. Yeah.
exactly. Now, like I have albums on my page of soul language messages and soul language healings. Those are generally slower. They're more intentional. It's like a Lemurian dialect. They're softer. But I totally agree. Pay attention to how you're feeling when the words come through, because, like, if I'll be honest, if I'm pissed off or I'm commanding out an energy, it's going to be a way different dialect than if I'm
Yep.
connecting with someone and bringing in a divine feminine aspect, you know? So
Yep.
the situation really does help you to kind of figure that out. And hi,
Oh
everyone
yeah.
who's
Yeah.
coming in. Thank you.
Banishing entities is a great way to see what languages come through when you're in
Yeah.
that state. Like, you get a very different energy coming through than like if you're purging like an emotion, like a sadness or something,
There's
or
actually
trying.
some of my favorite moments that I've had when I've been doing energy work on people is like if I have to really banish something out or have an argument with their counsel or something, and just watching how they respond to that, because they're like, I've never seen you mad. And I'm just like yelling, like throwing
Yeah,
around weight, and they're like, wow, you're really red. Yeah.
it's the energy. Yeah, it's all about the energy for sure.
Yeah.
And Aqua Sierra. Yeah. Do you have any question? I had some questions. I have to scroll up. I have a question from Borka. She asked, "What kind of classes does Tina offer?"
So
You
actually,
offer a course, right?
yeah, so right now I just launched this with Deb Clark of Mystic Heart Space. She is one of my mentors. She's like the first person who I gravitated towards when I came online, and I instantly knew her. But she's one of my best soul sisters. So right now we are putting on a dual mentorship. This is for connecting in with your clairs. This is for opening up your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, your channeling ability, learning how to create signs and symbols, sense yes and no's in your body, differentiate, learning how to bring in your guides and meet them, and really understand the messages, and working through all of the channeling. So right now we have that. It's a dual mentorship. It's got a private practice group. We are really going to dive in with you. So our first group practice is in a couple days, but we have a private group for questions, mentorship, and there's also a certification course attached to that. So there will be a certification at the end, but it's most of all an incredible mentorship, because Deb is just amazing and we both do things differently. So it's nice to have a couple of different views on things. Our goal is to help you find the way that you channel best for you. I also mentor in Deb has a light language activator course. So if you're activated with your soul language and you're wanting to learn how to activate others, so that's going to be primarily focused on light language, deciphering between dialects, deciphering the difference between an activation, a transmission, a clearing, things like that.
Yeah, honestly, that like when I saw her making the course and I saw what was in it, I was so confused because I was like, dude, that is so badass. Like, and I think you were calling it beginner's course or something before it,
I
right?
was.
And I was like, I'm like, that is not beginner's course because like I'm like right now at this point, I'm like, I wish I would have known that early on. But that's the thing about this work is like if it resonates with you, there's no like beginners, there's no
Right.
advanced.
And
Like
that's the
you are
thing
who
is like,
you are.
well, the thing is
Right?
we were like, we should make a beginner's course, and we set out to do that. And then it just
The
morphed
full
into,
package is really what you meant.
it
The
morphed.
foundations.
It morphed. And
Yeah.
because of the hands-on experience with Deb and myself, like we'll be doing practices with you, we'll be doing group practices, all of that kind of stuff. There really is something for everyone from beginner to advanced if you're wanting to use your clairs more.
Yeah, especially like I mean, both you and Deb are like full on. So having you both as like mentors with the clairs on, like that is enough.
This
Like
is what we're
honestly, by
passionate about.
itself.
Like this is what we're passionate about is helping others find their way, empowering other people to find their way. It's like you and I are very similar in so many ways, but the way we use our clairs is different. Deb and I are very
Yeah,
similar,
for
but the way we use our clairs is different. And so it's nice to just connect and see other people and how it works for them, and then fine tuning what works for you.
B Dawson asked, how often can people sign up for these courses?
So these are open all the time. So the mentorship that we're working through right now, our first group practice is in 3 days. But once you sign up for it, you get automatic admittance into the course. And then the second thing is admittance into the private practice group. So don't feel like if you can't join before the first one that you're going to miss out, because Deb and I, we put time and energy into making the course part, but the time and energy really comes when we get to start practicing with you. So every single person is going to get the same experience as far as an opportunity to go live and practice with Deb or myself, join group practices. So the group is going to stay open. And the course itself is a self-paced. So there's no pressure to go through all of the videos or all of the lessons right away. You can join at any time. You can join the group at any time, and there will always be people practicing and sharing their experience. So there really is no like push. You'll have the same experience no matter what.
Great. I have another question. I'm going to answer this
Yeah,
one real quick. From Amanda.
sure.
Says, how do we know if we're doing it correctly, as I don't understand it all, yet I'm healing others? So from the perspective that I look at it, I think it's best to start to look at things like light languages, and like the signing and things like that as higher self integration.
Yeah,
It's your higher self starting to work with you in the physical in a more intimate way. So the higher self sees the whole game board. The higher self can feel what's happening. Like they're there to support you in the experience that you are intending. So your intention is what matters. So you don't know
exactly.
what you're doing, but it's your intention that you're doing it is what matters. And so that they're gonna the higher selves, at least the highest self, they're gonna do what you need to do because they
Yes,
know that that's important. So like you can make choices to do things in other ways, and they're gonna support you in that. But it's really higher self integration. So if you're doing it, just do it. Just do it. And if it works,
right.
who gives a crap? And then you can start to dissect why did that work? Was I doing when that worked? Like that's what I started to do, because that's how I came into it, is
Mhm.
just doing it. I had no idea what I was doing at the time, but I would just set intention. I was always had an intention, and then I watched what would happen when I set those intentions. And I started to pay attention to the patterns and what was happening when I did a certain thing, if I worked in a certain area, or when I'm doing this or when I'm doing
Right.
that. And you ping pong it off your clairs, and then you start to get information. You just build like a big database of information that
Exactly.
is specific for you.
Exactly. And that's some of the advice that I give all the time as well. And this just struck when you said that, is when you were talking about ping ponging off the clairs. Um, if you are trying to open up a specific clair, rather than getting frustrated with it, lean on the clairs that you feel are dominant and allow
Yep.
those clairs to assist you in opening up the other ones. Pay attention
So
to the
important.
subtleties that you notice in the ones that you're focusing on, but allow yourself to lean on where your strengths are, and that will help open things up. I had someone ask, have you received other gifts or remembered? So for me, I've kind of been in tune my entire life. I've always been highly intuitive and empathic. And I used to have premonition dreams and see spirit, but I did kind of shut it off for a while. And so there was this like unlocking period. And what I will say is that when I activated with my soul language, it blew all of my clairs wide open. I did not know what to expect. So I always say, oh, I feel like I kind of did it backwards, right? But that's the important thing to remember, is there is no backwards. There's just what works for you. And
Yeah.
someone's asking, yes, I do have a link to the course in my bio. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, Rec Yourself says, this is an area I know nothing about but want to learn more. What exactly is light language / clairs? So light language to me is it's a universal expression of energy. So in spirit, we don't speak in languages like direct languages like we do in English. It's more an energy, it's vibration. You can call it telepathy, you can call it, whatever you want to call it. It's energy, and it can be filtered in different ways. So when we're talking about the idea of light languages or light linguistics, we're talking about the exchange of information. So light is data, light is information. So the idea of light languages is just transferring information. So that's why you'll hear people talk about it as like transmissions and stuff. But we use these tools in order to shift people's realities, whatever that is for them, shift frequencies inside their energy field so that they become more of who they are. The idea of clairs are your way of interfacing spirit into your physical reality. So that can look like, maybe seeing spirit, maybe you see auras, maybe you see spirits, maybe it's internal and you can tune in, you can astral project, or you can remote view. Maybe it's more of a feeling. I'm a feeler. I feel all this. I'm a feeler knower. So I get feelings tangibly, like as strong as feeling would, but at the same time, I also get a knowing with it, which is kind of hard to identify. But
Right.
that's what this course course we were just talking about is all about.
Yeah, exactly. Your clairs are just tapping into your full ability of senses. So the senses as we see them aren't just what we have now. So just like Ty said, tapping into it in that sort of psychic or ethereal sense is when you're really tapping into your clairs. And there's are so many more clairs than
Yes.
the ones we talk about. Right? Like we talk
Yes.
about the
100%.
main ones, like clairvoyance is your clear vision with your third eye, clairaudience is clear hearing, clairsentience is clear feeling, and claircognizance is clear knowing. But there's so much more than that. There's clear tasting, clear smelling, clairtangency is being able to touch something and feel the history of that object or place. And then you have your other spiritual gifts like telepathy and telekinesis and all of those things. So there are so many more innate abilities that we have um, than are really even discussed. And it's because for the longest time when we were growing up, because we're about the same age, it was pretty taboo. Like it wasn't necessarily mainstream talked about unless it was like a reference from a movie. Or I always say
No.
Miss Cleo, like I would see Miss Cleo on TV, or, Sylvia Brown, who I have nothing against, but like that was my first Sylvia Brown books were like my first actual interaction with like, oh, psychic mediumship. So you all have so many more abilities than you know.
And there's a spectrum to each of them too. So it's not like you're like full on in just one. You're gonna have a spectrum to each of your clairs. You might be tuned
Right.
in. You want to lean towards the ones that you naturally do automatically. So my
Exactly.
natural ones are the feeling and the knowing. But I also have other, I have clairaudience. It's just different than some other people's clairaudience, right? Other
Right.
people's clairaudience, they might actually hear messages in their mind, or they hear. I don't even have an inner monologue, so I don't hear myself in my mind. But what I do hear is frequencies. So I can
Mm-hmm.
hear different frequencies at different pitches and different cadences and different layers of it. So my form of clairaudience is a little bit different, or I get really loud pings, but everybody's different. So there's
Yeah,
definitely a range to it, and it can always be upgraded. So when we're talking about the idea of upgrades, that's like whatever you already got going on, we boost that, or you boost it really. You boost that up, you make it stronger. Even some of the strongest, Tina and I worked on a really strong clairvoyant not too long ago, 555, and he,
and I
he
have 5
sees a lot.
notifications
He sees a
every
lot,
day.
and
Oh yeah.
55 people, and that he sees a lot. And we worked with him, and he started seeing more immediately. Like he's like this is what's happening now.
Mhm.
So like you can, no matter who you are, where you're at, you're going to always, you can always improve what you've already got going on,
Right.
and then you can integrate, you can mix them too. There's mixing, there's a huge spectrum of it
Exactly.
where it's like there's clairs that are only your clairs that we don't
Yeah.
even know about because it's a sense.
And that's what I do. I allow them all to blend together. And so sometimes I'll be saying I'm seeing, but it's like it's a combination of just knowing, feeling, like they all just blend together. And that's how you start creating your own modalities as well. Because when I started doing what I was doing, I didn't know what to call it. So I just started creating my own modalities with the clairs and the energies that I was working with and just really blending them together and making it my own. What do you
Beautiful.
recommend for someone who can feel emotions literally and worse with a touch? My best suggestion
I'll get
is
to you,
to
Dennis.
really start focusing in on a regular shielding and cleansing practice. Getting really regular with shielding and cleansing your energy, okay? Empaths and clairsentients, especially, are like energetic sponges. And so we absorb the energies of everyone around us. You might even notice that, like, it'll shift your mood. Or you might start acting different around other people. So it's easy to kind of lose your identity in that, or start feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm crazy, or I'm picking up emotions that aren't my own, or drained.
Yep.
So there are so many different shielding techniques. I love a good bubbling technique, but it really depends on what resonates with you. When I wake up, I shield my energy and I cleanse it just with intention of anything I might have picked up in the astral or dream state. Before I go live or onto like big social media things, I will shield my energy. And I'll cleanse after. I'll cleanse my energy after I leave a store, anywhere that I'm going where there's a lot of people. I'll cleanse the energy and I tend to transmute while I'm there as well. And again, at the end of the day. And so a really good practice, if you're someone that's like, oh gosh, I don't have time for that, is in the shower. So every time I get a shower, I speak the intention that as my physical body is getting cleansed, I'm being cleansed mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well of anything that is stagnant, dense, not my own, draining my energy. And I will just literally watch it go down the drain. And that's a good way to start envisioning if you're someone that's not innately drawn to that clear vision, is using tools around you and bringing that intention in.
That's the way I work. I work with data. I work with tools. I work with different like knowings. As soon as I like anchor something in, as like through experience, then I know that that's the way that it works. And then you can command things. You can command it. You don't have to see it. You don't have to visualize it. You can just command things. I've got a question from Denise. She says, "Can you elaborate on getting rid of guides that are not for your highest good?"
So when I say this, there are different levels to it, of course. So I will do this daily, and anytime that I tap in and connect with someone, if I'm doing a personal transmission or a session for them, I will state something very simple. And I will ask that any and all elementals, angels, galactic guides, energies of any and all kind that are not here for their greatest and highest good at this moment leave. And I will feel them energetically leave. And then I will bring in any that are here for the greatest and highest good at this moment. So it's important to remember that just because they're not here for your greatest and highest good at this moment doesn't mean that they're here with malintent. We have so many more guides than you could possibly imagine. Like, we kind of came into this idea of guides and thinking like, I get one
Like
or
you've
two,
got like three.
like I got
Yeah.
like one or two I rock with. No. So there are some that have been with you through lifetime upon lifetime, or are still with you if you view it concurrently, as I do. And you have some that will have been with you since birth on this path, and they might be like you call them a main guide or something. But every time you advance spiritually, every time you're learning lessons in your life, maybe you make a big move, something traumatic happens, something shifts, you have different guides coming in to assist you at different points in your life. And if your light is on and you're channeling and you're feeling and connecting with energy, they'll just come in sometimes just because they're curious. And so it's important to push out anyone that's not here for the greatest and highest good at this moment, because they could just be lingering and they don't realize that they're sort of drawing on your energy. Now, the process that I go through with essentially removing personal counsel or guides that are not here for the highest good of myself or another, that generally tends to take a little bit more. I'll go into contract amendment. I will bring those guides in front of me. There's an interaction. I'll go in front of the karmic council. There's a lot that happens with that. But you can set clear and concise boundaries on what is coming into your field, and that's very important as well. So for me, my boundaries are, I do not want anything that is not here for my greatest and highest good. If you're here with malintent, you are swiftly getting kicked out of my energy, or you're simply not allowed in. If you manage to make it in and I feel that you're not here for my greatest and highest good, you will leave and I will not communicate with you. So don't be afraid to get assertive if you're feeling like you've got an energy around that might not be for your highest good.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that was a question. I'm not, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the person that asked, it kind of feels like that was a question related to when we were on, or I was at least on a live the other day. And
that's what I was thinking, because I was like,
yeah,
there's a couple different things that I should mention, because it's
couple
not always
angles to it.
Right. It's not always that they're not here for your highest good, period.
For example, like
when
I don't
when
work,
I did that with Ty, there was a process. I went into his personal counsel, and I started pulling memories and things and feeling what was happening. So that was kind of a different situation.
Yeah, and it's different, you know, like, and the way that I work with my guides is a little bit different. Everybody works with guides in different ways. Like, I'm really I generally try to work with expressions of myself for the most part. So that's a lot of like just working with different versions of me, and it's a different experience as the guidance comes through, because it's more of a subtle difference. So it's not gonna come in as strong. It's gonna be more, you gotta kind of get the hang of knowing when it's guidance from yourself, if that makes sense. But still, even at the same time, there's reasons why I have such a strict protocol, especially even working with yourself. Like, I make sure that I set clear intentions, because some of myself some different aspects of myself have different agendas. They've
Right.
got
It's
different things that
important
they're
to know
doing.
that we have played all of the roles through all of the lifetimes. And then, you know, and then
And they're all
there's
happening
Ty
now.
that's like floating out in the astral, you know, and he could be hanging out like picking up hitchhikers because he's like, come on, man, let's party, you know, like
Sounds
exactly.
like me.
Yeah, me too.
Beautiful questions, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah. What is the
Could you
significance
share?
of
Okay, sorry.
popping and crackling in your ears? That happened to me for a month. So we all have the ability to sort of set our own signs and symbols. The way that I interpret crackling and popping in the ears to me is a sign of the clairaudience coming online or getting an activation or upgrade. And when I read your question, that's what I was feeling for you.
Piper says, "How do you get in touch with your guides? I've been doing meditation and cannot at all visualize." Well, just so you're aware, I cannot visualize at all at this time. So I even a color, I like for the longest time when I was doing meditations and getting into energy work, everybody says visualize this color, put this frequency, put this color into this thing, and I was like, how do you visualize a color? And they're like, imagine a circle and a square. I'm like, what? Like, how do you even do that? So I got nothing. Like, I really had no idea. I honestly thought visualizing is what it meant to be a psychic. I thought that's what clairvoyance
Yeah,
was, is to
see,
be able
that's
to
the thing.
visualize.
There are so many stigmas and perceptions of what our abilities are, and they can be so
Yeah.
many things. And they might be that for some people, but they might not for others. Hi, everyone.
So
Thank you.
so the way that I interface, to finish up your question, the way that I interface with my guides is through my own filters of me, because I work with different expressions of me. So the way that I experience it is going to be probably quite different than somebody else. So with me, again, it comes back to understanding your clairs, or knowing what clairs you're most strong in. With me, it's feeling and knowing and just kind of doing. And my guides, my higher selves, will use those clairs to communicate with me. So sometimes I'll have my body like literally want to move and look in a certain direction, and I know that, okay, well, there's something up there. Oh, I'm looking at the books, and I look right at a book that says something. I'm like, okay, thank you for that. Or I just get it down, like it'll be a random memory. There's no such thing as random. So if it's a random memory that comes in at a certain time, I know that there's something relevant to it. But I'll let Tina answer from her perspective as well.
No, I agree. See, that's the thing. That's part of creating signs and symbols. So even if you can't see them, if you have the ability to pull up a memory or something pops in, what is it about that that's relevant at this time? And then you can assign that a meaning. So the next time that pops up, you go, oh, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah. And everybody, yes. Oh, ow, Malik, no claws, bro. Ouch.
He was doing that to me the other day. I was like,
gosh, stop, man. You got all excited and just like took off.
I know, he wanted to play.
Ouch. Shoot, I forgot what I was saying. But yeah, just everybody communicate. You're always in communication with your guides. So somebody that you might, this is a download. So this is an example of my guides giving me information for you. I got a download for Captain Kate. She does these live readings. She's very clairvoyant. She does like spirit guide readings. It might be helpful for you to check out her content and see the differences on how these guides interact with their people. Because something like, for example, like she did a reading for me, and the way that my guides interact with me is quite different than a lot of other people's. But you can see, like, some guides are just like a weird thing. They're like a freaking bean. It's like a bean, but they speak to you as it's like whatever it is, it's the energy that like represents something, and they'll communicate through something weird, like when you get a bubbly gut. Like this, that's how I communicate with you. You get a bubbly gut.
Once you start learning to decipher and differentiate, right, you can set signs for each one. So all of my guides come in completely different. One of my main guides, his name is Eric, he'll literally just stick his finger in my ear like he's giving me a wet willy until it drives me insane. Or he'll yank on my ear, but like when Loki comes in, I feel him stand at my left shoulder with his hand on my shoulder. I feel all of my guides differently. Some I see, some I hear, some I smell. Eric, I'll smell him too. They're all a little bit different. So learning what works best for you, and you can tune in and ask your guides to present in a way that you can understand as well. So really remembering that you are in charge of your channel and your energy field, and saying, look, if you can't come in this way right now, then come back when you can, and they will try. They'll do their best to communicate with you in a way that you can understand. So don't feel like it has to be a certain way. I have someone asking,
Yeah,
how
that's
can I
really
find
important.
out if I have any gifts? I have always felt like I can read a room and feel feelings. Simply put, every single one of us has spiritual gifts and abilities. Every single one of us. So the answer to that is you have abilities. If you can feel out a room, read a room, and feel feelings, you are highly empathic. And for you specifically, I'm feeling that you're very clairsentient as well. So it's something that you've been able to develop. Um, Empathy and clairsentience are very similar, but not exactly the same thing. So empathy is more so the feeling of being able to feel a room, read out a room. But when you can start to really feel other people's feelings, emotions, physical pains, and start pinpointing them, that's your clairsentience.
Beautiful. Just gonna scroll up, see if there's any other questions. Kate the Brave says, the other day I felt compelled to yell, "Until next time" in Hindi, thanks to my Hindi guide. And she says, I definitely do not know Hindi.
I love that.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes there's expressions that come through, like different light languages that come through that I'm like, dude, that sounds like Spanish. I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
that
there
sounds
have
like
been times
Italian.
where
Like,
and I let them blend, and I know you do the same thing. So when I start doing energy work on someone or even a collective work, at this point I've given permission for them to all sort of blend as to what is most needed. But there have been times where I'll literally just be speaking and kind of stop and start laughing to myself and be like, I'm pretty sure that's Russian, or I'm pretty sure that's is that Spanish? I'm pretty sure I learned that in 5th grade. Like. Okay, I think that's an earthly dialect blending in, and that's okay because they're all expressions of you. They're all parts of your soul. Every time
there's different
you
energies too, right?
every time you calibrate in a new light language dialect, that integrates as a fractal of yourself. So someone is asking, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't want to miss it because I feel like this is helpful for most. How do I know what spiritual gifts I have? Taking the time to consciously connect in with yourself, feel into your heart. Another thing that I suggest is honestly allow yourself to do that research. Look up the clairs. Which ones do you feel most drawn to? If you're someone that has a very vivid imagination, has vivid dreams, can read a book and really put themselves in the scenery, you're a clairvoyant. If you feel other people's feelings or pains on your body, you're clairsentient. If you just know things, say you've been someone that's never had to study for a test in your life, you never read the book, you just showed up and you somehow got 100, you don't know how, you're more than likely claircognizant, and you've been channeling your whole life. You just don't know it. Yeah, me too.
I'm like, the only reason I passed school was because of the test. I was like, I don't know how I always just passed the test. I never did homework at all.
Yep, same. And having a strong inner monologue is one of the signs of clairaudience. Now, of course, it's not the only one, but hearing random songs, feeling like you're hearing your name or whispers or frequencies are all signs of clairaudience as well. So just lean into what feels right to you, and I promise that you will find the breadcrumb that you're meant to find, and just allow yourself to continue exploring and following that.
Yeah. Piper Parker says, I've had so many messages asking if I want a reading, but I never do because 90% want a lot of money. There's a lot of scammers out. Most authentic readers, I would say 99% of authentic readers are not going to reach out for you for a reading. They're just not going to. It's not
I would 100% say that if they're reaching out to you and offering a reading, most likely they are not a legitimate reader, channel, energy sense. At least I can speak for Ty, and myself and my friends will never reach out to you for a reading. So if you get a message from one of us, check out the page, feel into it. Do they have extra letters in their name? Do they have extra symbols? Because the scammers are pretty bad right now. They've just been coming to pages, stealing entire bios, stealing, all the videos. So a good thing as well is if this is someone that you're in connection with, Most of those people have links in their bio. So like I have this page and I have a backup. I have my link tree in both bios. Ty has his link in his bio. So if you don't see that link, it's a good sign that it's not a real person, or not,
Yeah.
not that person that you believe.
They're not going to link anywhere outside of
Right.
themselves. They're going to try to funnel it directly to you, regardless of what they're saying. Most of them are they're like robots. Like, I don't know if they're literally robots, but they're like literally robots.
There's definitely some AI influence in there for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So I would definitely just feel into it, and it's honestly, it's I think it's terrible that it's happening, but I think it's a good thing for the community as well, because people are practicing discernment, personal discernment. You can really kind of go through and really feel it through, and it's terrible that they do these things. I'm not saying that that's okay in any way, shape, or form,
Right.
but there's discernment's a really big topic right now in spiritual community.
Yes.
Like and discernment isn't a thing that is like it's right or wrong, or it's true or untrue.
Right.
It's nothing like that. Discernment's an inner feeling
How
if
you
it's
feel,
right for you.
your inner compass,
Yeah.
your inner knowing, trusting your gut, your heart. How does it feel to you?
Because it might be right. If it feels right in that moment for you to go through that experience, it might be right.
Yeah.
And then you're going to learn a lesson through it. But you're going to go, like, that's how your higher selves, your guides are going to often speak through you, is by the inner discernment. They're going to give you hints, or you're going to start to feel those things. And then you can kind of navigate from there with the data that you do get.
Right. Hi.
So Emily says, do you feel like I can be blocked from true stability and income for this life? Good to see you, sis. Can you be, well, yes. I mean, you can be blocked, but that's a choice that you are deciding in some way, shape, or another. So, and it's important to be careful how you're defining things as well. So like how you define stability. Are there like certain conditions to stability that you are imposing onto it, or an income? How do you define income? You can define it literally as financial income, because there's different layers and levels to these things, because there's just as much abundance that can come through from many angles, like a number of different angles that assist you, that is really helpful, that could be considered income, right? So yeah, that's where I would start first. You can be, but that's totally up to you. You can shift that completely.
Exactly. So I have a couple of questions here. Why do empaths absorb energies? And I want to read the question below it because I feel like this sort of answers it. So I am an emotional roller coaster and I cry on a thought. Is this an ability, or am I just overly sensitive? You are the definition of an empathic person, and I feel that you are very clairsentient as well. I'm not meaning to read you, but I know that you asked, and since it's coming in, pay attention to your thoughts is what I'm hearing. But for you, I would suggest definitely implementing some kind of regular shielding and cleansing of your energy. And why do empaths absorb energies? So a big part of being an empath is that a piece of that mission generally involves being a transmuter. And when I say a transmuter, empathic people have the ability within them to shift or alchemize the energy of a space, the energy of a room. So when I say that I'm transmuting, generally I'll do this in the post office, I'll do it wherever I am. I will be consciously pulling in negative or dense energy through the back of my heart space, rolling it around, bringing in some light, and sending it back out as love. Empaths also tend to be like shapeshifters because they're highly sensitive. The reason that those energies get absorbed is because you're highly sensitive, and so you're picking up on the energies of people and you're not really realizing it. It's just an intuitive nature of yours to sort of tune into those people and want to make them feel better or whatever that is. But without releasing those energies, they tend to get absorbed and start shifting your energy as well.
You want to do some energy work real quick?
Yeah.
Let's do some. You down for that? Just to make sure we get that in before we're on too long.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize what time it was. We got a park to get to, everyone.
So if y'all are interested in receiving, you don't have to do anything except for just acknowledge that you're open to receive. I invite you to set an intention if you would like to, but I always encourage whatever's for your highest and greatest good. That's usually the best route to go in this now moment, because that can change. So feel free to bring up an intention or awareness if you have something going on physically. Feel free to feel into that. If that's something that you're looking to shift, feel into whatever it is that's there as deeply as you consciously feeling into it. If it's an issue that's going on, like in your life, consciously, I would recommend first placing your awareness in your heart and then bring that up in your consciousness. And then we'll boost all this stuff and we'll help bring in these energies for you and shift these things for you. So just relax, be open to receive, and we will get you. This is going to be a big boost. We got us both together.
I'm focusing on a nice big transmute. So any negative, dense feelings, anything stagnant that's not yours or that is not meant to be there, I'm going to work on a release. So just keep in mind that you may be emotional for the next few days and stay hydrated. Okay? Be gentle with yourself.
I'm going to bring in some codes for upgrades as well. So I'm just establishing some parameters that I always do before I do any transmission. I establish what I call my pillar of light. That's there. So it's just connecting directly to source and then just holding me in the space. I ask my highest self to step in. And then I'm going to just set clear standards. Like no harm will be done. No energy will be taken that is not freely given out of love, and it will be in alignment for the highest good of all only.
Dashi askutuma mahwakuku andaya sarti ianda kwarbandaya niaya sartu kurnia andaya yea wakuku andaya shartu kurnia yes kurnia niaya harti ianda shakuku andaya maskuku grudia partia chaku nearby ianda sakuku andaya
Mafia ratuki amratish yaria tosu. Landicha Ikraindere shitarasute pexandi keshiara katia chamra kushayin da kiaraki. Laris rasuka yashwaria. Kakutremesharia suchandia.
Mahawat urma. Mahaku urmai. Maku andaya sarti iayanda kwa ayas urma abi atia tarak ya utuma tuwat.
Marintu yarkesh la hata india. Lerchita to yarinda yarshit maseti tawot. Ya bandu with the pepera se ara. Kitanda suku. Ishi shindi fepa walu. Flipe no. Kitir lishia. Arki baraket.
Awandaya turma. Ya wa 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 ya wa.
Varinti shishara sierra shambapur tatiar nasataria. Indio, Indio kumapur, Indio kurma, Ikuma yesh. Iprati, Arashki Lengir charti pekana kurki shatyata yak ichre ya la kur ishke ka ue kurum ke ishke isna tu ishke atema ta ihielo ma wuki ishke landa ta rishi kulu man pe wakma po itresi Taran siar di pasakit ng mertu yar pari pasakit ng kebarakatu ya faktor ko tuan dan dia siar tira yang dari kita pasakit dua kata yar ng faktor dan cing dia tuama kui itar stangui sumbe akordu apianda ya shaye taime mini asui pashiai Pakwepeshi. Mafia katatici tir sembra katatir
Nahawakua wayanda mahrut urmask
Nekte ikir tatir kaki praski autumras Iak nair di prai. Skive ungira. Faki biaratu sembe. Rundu hasya. Makitu. Patiar siata niro niren dotor niendo ninyau. Ne namo.
Yasakunaya shatuarwa.
Ye
Kukuandaya
bratu. Ipana.
Yasarutu kurmanda.
Taukui.
Kuwa waya naya sarutuni.
Kuwa.
Kukua na hayarani. Na kukua naya naya shatarti iya yanda kuwa waya.
Kirina na ipanani teto iprapaskio La randa ta 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 ta. Uichikin mundara shatara ki harande sachatura mo.
Naya sakupuandaya shatur.
Rando shat.
Ya kutur mayandaya
Yeste
kupuandaya shatur.
kwandra tarashti.
Ni askutur makardi aktuya 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 aktuya.
Yerdin be patuye. Yerdu tata urata. Ui. Ui. Ikau. Ia nana. Nian. Shibrau. Fire.
Nahawa.
Basi.
Mahaya naya sarutur mai. Yakuwa. Sharutur. Nahaya sakuandaya ndama. Makuandaya shatur.
So I'm going to start to put a grid up around each person. These grids are meant to essentially hold different layers of frequency. So I'm going to put you in a diamond octahedron. That top apex about 2 meters above your head, bottom apex about 2 meters below your feet. I'm going to rotate this gently clockwise. I'm going to ask for whatever frequencies, whatever light codes, whatever colors, whatever sparkles that are perfect for you in this now moment for these intentions to flow in. So they're going to vortex around you in a clockwise direction. We're going to have you breathe these in. So we're going to breathe in all these frequencies, all these light codes that are specific for you into the head, the face, the neck, the throat, the chest, the upper back, every fiber, every cell, through the whole torso, all the vital organs, down to the legs, into the feet, down to the shoulders, the biceps, triceps, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, and thumbs. So we're just saturating every cell with these frequencies that are right for you and these light codes that are right for you for these intentions. We're going to put a diamond cube around that octahedron. We're going to fill that in with platinum light between the cube and the octahedron. We're going to put an inverted chromium pyramid around that, rotate that gently clockwise, and fill that in with chromium light. Spark up a love frequency in your own heart space. We put a soccer ball shape. It's called the truncated icosahedron. So it's like a sharper soccer ball. Put silver platinum mirrors on the inside. And we're going to put chromium mirrors on the outside. We're going to expand this to go around these other geometries in 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to paint the seams of this geometry with some light language and light codes, with some magic.
While I was doing that, I was working on expanding out everyone's auric field and doing a nice shielding and webbing of light codes, golden light codes all the way around. And then I pulled in a dual stream of source energy from the top down through the crown and Gaia energy up through the Earth star and up through all of the centers, and allowed that dual stream to run back and forth, finally meeting in the heart space, weaving together up and down through your energetic system. This is going to help flush things out and ground out as well. I'm asking that this energy runs through every single one of you for as long as is necessary or as long as feels good. So know that you are always in control of your energy. If you feel like you've got too much coming in, you can ask for it to slow down or to stop. My glasses are sliding off my face.
It's funny, I was just noticing your glasses. I'm like, did her glasses get bigger?
It's because I'm sweating and my face
So
is
hot.
tilted like
Yeah.
this. I'm sitting in my car, guys.
Yeah, in like 90-degree weather. Beautiful. Yeah, so let us know how you're feeling. So there you go. Get a nice
Yeah, how's
purge of
everybody
those toxins.
feeling?
Yeah, so let us know how you feel. Yeah, let us know.
Definitely,
Thank you, Sarah. You're
definitely
beautiful
hydrate.
as well. You're beautiful. Hi, backwards.
Oh, you're so welcome. We love you all so much.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Emily. So thank you, Borka. Bye. Oh, we lost Amanda. Okay. Yeah, Emily's channel is light language as well. She's great. She's got a YouTube, or not a YouTube, TikTok. Follow her. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. So just keep in mind when we work together. Hey, brother, how you doing? Good to see you,
Oh, you're
Spence.
so welcome.
Yeah, just keep in mind that you had, like, I know it seems like a casual like TikTok thing. I was just watching the video and they were talking, they did a bunch of weird stuff, and then it's like, yeah, okay, I go do whatever, I go water my garden. Just remember days and weeks ahead that you had this with both of us, because we push a lot of frequency and we use a lot of codes, so it's going to have an effect if you're open to receive. So just keep that in mind. You might have to purge old programs, and that can look like releasing, feeling really emotional, or it can feel like just unsettled. It can also have like triggers in your reality. Triggers may come up that's like testing you to see if you're letting go of these things. Catalysts in your reality, where like feels like your life's falling apart, but it's because it's trying to get you to go where you need to go. So just keep that in mind. Drink lots of water. Use your tools that ground, all the like the stuff that everybody says.
And be gentle with yourself. Allow yourself to move through those emotions. If you want to scream, if you want to cry, whatever it is, allow yourself to do it. Just try to keep this in mind and not project it at other people, but allow yourself to move through those things. And this is so beautiful. I had a couple people, so I wanted to mention this. Releasing energy can look different for everyone, but some of the main forms of releasing energy are coughing, hacking, sometimes dry heaving, sometimes actually throwing up, but crying, yawning, sneezing, these are all forms of releasing energy. So allow yourself to do that and know, okay, I'm going to be releasing some energy. Yeah, someone says it seems like we're always releasing energies, and we are, because especially when you're on what Spirit likes to call a fast track, as you're going through the motions and going through your lessons quickly, we are constantly releasing energies, because in order to receive activations and upgrades, we need to clear out and make space first. So that's why I was trying to focus on a mass transmute as Ty was bringing in codes, and then it all just sort of blended together and we both did both. But yeah.
What does it mean to release energy? So when we're talking about releasing energy, there's a lot. That's a great question, because it does sound kind of generic. It's different. So such a generic way of saying energy, release energy. Right. It can be releasing emotions that are trapped in your. A lot of times that's what it looks like. Is it means like part of the idea of healing is that we get emotions that we haven't processed, usually negative emotions, because we have no problem laughing if it's a positive emotion. But if we're crying or pissed off, we're going to not want to process that. And that gets literally stored in our body, and that becomes dis-ease. And that's when you start to have issues going on. But yeah, so like it can look like releasing those stuck frequencies that are in the body. So then you might need to process those emotions. You might have just feel like you need to have a release of energy. Like one of my biggest secrets, honestly, like the biggest hacks that I know. Well, I'm a guy, so it's like it's really obvious for me. Not that there's stereotyping or anything, but like it's for me to allow myself in the moment, whatever expression I need to feel, whatever emotion I need to feel, and let myself feel that emotion in that moment. So you'll see, I mean, if you follow my channel, my page, or whatever you want to call it, you'll see me. I'm not afraid to like let some emotions out, because if we don't, if you feel those emotions and you choose not to let them process in that moment, I know that they're going to have to be processed later. Like it's just gonna build up,
and they just build up and get uncomfortable.
Yeah. So allow yourself in the moment to process whatever you're experiencing, and that's going to be your ticket. So you don't have to keep building on, because it'll build onto the same area. Like if you have an issue going on in one area, and you just keep adding that emotion on top, is layer after layer after layer. So once you start processing,
it may become painful. It becomes uncomfortable. It becomes painful. You can get sick, and also releasing energies can be releasing anything that's not your own. So every single time we interact with someone, there's an energetic cord that goes out. Every time I talk to Ty, there's an energetic cord. Every time I read a comment, there's an energetic cord. So sometimes that releasing is just the attachment to those that energies that aren't your own. It could be releasing thought processes, old programming, things you've been conditioned to believe, negative things you say to yourself. It could be anything. And it'll be different for each person based on what they need. So yeah, just be gentle with yourselves.
Debbie said you said yawning is a release. Yeah, so that's a
Yes.
way to release these frequencies. So you can release in different ways. So when we're oftentimes when we're releasing for other people, those are things that we'll do on our end, but sometimes it happens on the recipient's end as well. You'll have a lot of release, like yawning in a session, or even burping, or something. Sometimes even farting. You know, like there's all sorts of
Suddenly
stuff that
have
like
to
you're
go to the
releasing
bathroom.
energy.
Yep, that's an energetic release.
Peeing, yeah, like all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's just a process of energy. Yeah. Well, I love y'all so much. I think we'll probably wrap up. Do you want to give yourself a little plug?
I do just want to answer one more question before we go. Okay. So Rising Beautifully says, can you explain on feelings of missing someone after just meeting someone and not really knowing them? That is a soul's recognition of a connection. That is soul family. Okay, so that's your soul recognizing them from another place and time, an alternate dimension, an alternate lifetime, however you want to say that. But that's your soul recognizing a contract or a connection. And with that being said, yeah, I'm feeling good. I think we're going to go to the park and ground ourselves.
Yeah. If you're interested in asking questions, if you want to hit us up at all, you want to learn more about this stuff at all, we have a Discord server. We've set up a Discord server, which is kind of like it's like a community chat. There's like different topics that you can chat in, like little sub chat rooms and stuff, but you can also interact directly with us. So we try to do our best to stay on top of things and answer questions the best we can. But it's not just us, right? It's not a Thai thing. It's not a Tina thing. It's a community.
It's an everyone thing.
Yeah. So like if you really are interested in that, there's a lot of every single person has just as much value and information and perspective. So there's a lot of really awesome people on there that I highly recommend you go and join. You can do that through a link in my bio or a link in Tina's bio to join that. And then if you're interested, like you can ask questions. But if you're interested in like sessions and stuff, you feel like you're ready for something like that, I specialize in helping people embody their highest self as quickly as possible. So higher self integration, that looks like activations, it looks like healings, it looks like upgrades, which you can feel free to hit me up and ask questions about. And we're going to be launching some other stuff soon. Very soon, I'm going to have a bunch of clothes, like encoded clothing and products that I'm going to have up on the store. So I highly recommend checking that out because it's not just going to look cool. It's going to be cool because it's energetic. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're interested in soul language activations, deep release sessions, spiritual gift activations, readings, weavings, links to book with me are all in my bio. Links to the courses that I was discussing today are in my bio. And there's a ton of support circles. So if you're watching from my side, Ty's Discord link is in my link tree under support circles. There's also the Light Language Awakening group, the Starseed Intuitive Awakening group. Those are on Facebook as well as many others. So if you're looking for community and connection, we have lots of options in there. Just check out both of our links and see what resonates with you. And we're excited to connect with you deeper in other areas. So thank you all so much for watching and sending us love and just being here. We really appreciate you. We love you so much.
I thank you so much for all the conversations that I've seen on my end and the questions on my end that we weren't able to answer. We love you and we thank you so much for doing your own thing at the same time. I love that. I love seeing people in the community talk with each other. So thank you.
We'll try to do this again. So if we missed your question and we don't have a chance to answer it somewhere else, then we will do this again soon. But definitely check out the Discord for connection, okay? We love you all.
Bye-bye.